Oh, hey, I didn't hear you come in. Life can be messy, especially when you move from a couple blocks down the road to a new location at a rental house where you quickly put a studio up in less than 3 days. It's been a bit rocky to say the least. I had planned, like I often do, all these grand ideas and concepts in my brain. And we were going to do a movie news segment today, like we always do on Tuesdays, unless I do something else that I have an idea for. But typically, I like to kind of plan things out ahead of time. Preamble aside, I did not have time to because my real job got in the way, along with a myriad of other things that came up. But I still wanted to make it to the live and I still wanted to test this out. So I thought instead of just rattling through a bunch of movie news stuff, I can give you some of that for sure. We would just do kind of a Q&A thing. Ask me something about a movie or really anything in general. I'll answer. Super chats are appreciated, but we'll just keep it loose and off the cuff for an hour or so, and then I will go to bed because it's been a long. The move has not been easy. So I hope everybody's doing all right. Okay, let's get the technical stuff out of the way because that's always the most important. How is it looking and sounding? We good? Are we good? Do we have thumbs up, thumbs down? I have my Invisalign in. Usually I take those out and it's making me feel uncomfortable. So I'm going to pull them out. I'm going to go off camera. You guys let me know if it looks and sounds okay. If there's any, I don't want any lagging. I have this motherfucker Ethernet jacked in. I bought a dongle. I bought a longer Ethernet cable. None of this Wi-Fi shenanigans. All right. This is hardwired in. There's no excuse anymore for any sort of lag on the stream. 1 second. I'm going to take out my chompers. And just like that, we're back. They're just clear. You see, they're just clear things. They go in. Okay, we're going to set those right there on that sanitary box. Oh, God. Jimbo's asking if that's the guy from Adam Does Movies. Yeah, it is. It's Adam from Adam Does Movies. The super popular, more popular than Tony from Hack the Movies character. Nice dongle. Good. I'm glad you like the dongle. The news pieces I wanted to go over were The Boys is going to be done after 5 seasons. I remember that. I took notes, diligent notes, that it was going to go 5 seasons and it was going to be done. So 5 seasons, 8 episodes, I believe, and there will be no more The Boys, which I'm actually really happy about because I thought season 4 kind of lackluster. The first half was strong, but it was clear they were not going to make the big risks that they needed to. They were not going to take the chances required to keep the show even plausible. So I'm glad that they at least have an end in sight. Every good show, it seems like, is willing to run themselves into the ground and then lose all credibility. The Boys might be able to hang on. Another piece of news that I wanted to go over was Arcane, which I was a huge fan of the animated show, Netflix show. Going to be done after 2 seasons. 2 seasons and done with Arcane. They have other properties that they want to I shouldn't say properties. They have other characters within that world that they want to tell stories about. So Jinx and what is the other one? Violet, V, doesn't matter. The strong female lead. They're done after 2 seasons already, which is a bummer, but also it's bittersweet because I'm glad that they have a plan in place. You know, it's really weird. And don't quote me on the amount of episodes because I'm not really sure, but they are bringing back that god awful was it Foodtopia? Do you remember Foodtopia with Seth Rogen and a bunch of his stoner bros? They made that terrible animated film years back about food being alive and banging each other and getting violently murdered. And on paper, it seemed like a funny 15-minute episode of South Park. And South Park's kind of done things in an extent to that idea. but it was a full feature length film, and it was not funny, and it was a chore to get through. They're bringing it back for a mini series, 6 or 8 part episode where the food rises and the humans know that the food is here, and the food kills, I think, most of human society off. But then they realize they don't know how to act and how to make their own society. So they have to go find some of the remaining humans that are left to show them how. So bizarre. I have no idea how this got greenlit, especially when all that stuff came out about the first movie and the terrible behind the scenes practices going on with the animation studio and how they were underpaid and they were overworked. Who's given this movie or who's given this fucking thing a thumbs up? It's bizarre. It's bizarre. Not Foodtopia, Sausage Party. Oh, thank you. The new one is called Foodtopia. I knew there was something going on. So Sausage Party was the original movie. Foodtopia. Is it called Sausage Party Foodtopia? Yes, Sausage Party Foodtopia is what the new thing is called. Jesus. This is why we take notes. I told you I'm coming in shot out of a cannon. We have a super chat, so we got to get that up. The Blind Cinephile for $5. As someone who just started the Lord of the Rings trilogy, only missing Return of the King, is there any movie/franchise you haven't seen that's popular? I'm not sure what that means. As someone who just started the Lord of the Rings trilogy, only missing Return of the... Oh, I see. You watched the first two and you're on Return of the King. Oh man, I envy the hell out of you, Blind Cinephile. What a treat to be able to go through with fresh eyes and watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I hope it holds up well. I mean, it holds up well for me, but I hope with fresh eyes, it looks good, sounds good, and still has the oomph that it had when I watched it the first time. I would love if you watched the Hobbit trilogy too. Granted, they're not near as amazing as Lord of the Rings, but if you like Middle Earth, if you like Peter Jackson's approach to directing, definitely give The Hobbit a shot. You might be pleasantly surprised. Yes, the material's stretched as thin as humanly possible. Yes, it's way more zany and bonkers with characters, but I think it's fun as hell all the same. So is there any movie franchise you haven't seen that's popular? No. I don't know if there's any I've never watched Doctor Who. It was always kind of Doctor Who gives a shit for me. I watched one episode of Doctor Who and a bunch of mannequins came to life and I was out. It was too much. It was too much for me. I haven't watched Doctor Who. I know people live and die by it. I've seen a few episodes of the British version of Sherlock Holmes. I could never get past the second or third episode with Benedict Cumberbatch. That's somewhat popular. I'm trying to think of any movie franchises that I just haven't watched that are big hits. I've seen some that are big shits. The Maze Runner and Divergent, I only watched one of those movies each. That was enough, I feel like, to get the gist of that crap. No, I can't think of any off the bat. I'm sure someone will point something out and I'll say, oh yeah, that was obvious. But thank you, Blind Cinephile, for the super chat. I appreciate it. Keeps the lights on here. And there's more lights, as you can see. I got lights everywhere now. Aquafina. Dennis just says Aquafina with a thumbs up. We love Aquafina. We celebrate Aquafina and her entire catalog. I don't understand this woman. But there's always one. There's always one actor that comes along every generation that just makes me scratch my head. Larry the Cable Guy. Show of the hands. Who remembers Larry the Cable Guy? You might remember him. You might know him as the voice of Mater in the Cars franchise. He was the Blue Collar Comedy Tour, just full stop, was a big deal for a while. I never liked any of it, but there was a huge swath of at least Americans that really ate that up. Pauly Shore, another guy that, I mean, I think he was born, he had like a silver spoon in his hand at birth. I'm pretty sure he's Nepo baby-ish, Nepo baby-esque. I'm not sure his background, but yeah, I never got his appeal either. The buddy thing, the clickety-clackety noise, the weasel, that never flew with me. And so Aquafina, I guess, is my new Pauly Shore. And that's just where we're at. We just have to accept it. I want to make sure I covered everything that was at least in the thumbnail. So I mentioned food fight or whatever sausage party and sausage party Foodtopia. The Acolyte's back. I did not watch the third episode yet. I'm planning on watching it maybe after this stream if there's time. I just don't know if there's going to be time for it. Depends on how hot and heavy these super chats go into the night. But I'm not looking forward to it that much. I thought the first two episodes were incredibly mediocre, mid, short for mediocre. I'm told by the kids from 2021. I have no desire to really even. I mean, I'm like half in. I have my toe in. We'll see if it goes in an interesting direction, but I have a feeling almost every single time with Disney shows, the first two episodes are the best, and then it just nosedives by the third, fourth, or fifth. I heard that's not the case though with the Rogue One prequel, which of course we know Rogue One's a prequel to Episode 4, A New Hope. So the prequel to the prequel to the sequel to the sidequel to the fuckquel. That one I heard is good as well. I already forgot the name of it, but I do need to go back and finish watching the Rogue One prequel. God, what a mess. What an absolute mess. Perm's here, out of a cannon for $5. Thank you, Perm. New place looks good. Yeah, I mean, you're seeing two walls that I kind of made into my own space here. I'm just in this little nook in the corner. The rest of this room is a pretty sad state of affairs. It's just bookshelves, and there's I have some packing tarps, some packing blankets dangled over the tops to muffle the audio. It gets a little hot and heavy in here. We have another super chat from Michael for $1.99. Are there any other shows that you say ended perfectly? Oh, yeah, I do have. Are there any shows that you think ended perfectly? Breaking Bad, I know it's generic to say, but Breaking Bad, absolute god tier, perfect from front to back for me. I'd say it falters a little bit in 3. 3 is a little bit tedious to get through, but overall, it is an amazing show. I think Better Call Saul, to a lesser extent, also really fantastic. The ending's not quite as amazing, but it's serviceable. And it had to go in a certain direction in order to even tie into Breaking Bad, which might have been its downfall at the end of the day. It wasn't the writers had to get pigeonholed a little bit. But Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, fantastic watches from beginning to end. I go to this one all the time, but Avatar: The Last Airbender, 3 seasons, perfection. It's top 5 show of all time for me. Breaking Bad's up there, of course, number 1 probably. But I think Avatar: The Last Airbender did everything fans wanted it to do, but did it in a way that just felt so natural and so organically perfect. Even Korra, to a lesser extent, I really enjoy that show as well. Not as much, of course, hence to a lesser extent, as The Last Airbender, but I think the 4 seasons of Korra are really damn good. It probably would have benefited with just a 3-season arc as well, because I do think the 4th is where things get a little bit dicey with that show. It felt like the 3rd season was just top tier, and then it kind of does falter a little bit in 4. But yeah, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, Avatar: The Last Airbender, and really that's about it. A lot of shows just go to shit. I didn't mind. Now, this is an older poll, but a lot of people hated where Battlestar Galactica went. BSG, of course, for short. I didn't mind. I kind of felt it was going that way pretty early on. I'm not going to give it away, even though it's very old now. But, and I'm talking about the reboot of Battlestar Galactica from I don't even know when that was. 2008, maybe 2007, somewhere around there. That might be. Yeah, that's probably about right. I enjoyed that show. It probably hasn't held up the best special effects wise. It was already pretty low budget sci-fi, but BSG, pretty solid watch from beginning to end. Outside of that, you know what I'm watching right now with my wife, because Connor has been just like annoying us about it. He said, Dad, Mom, you have to watch Gravity Falls. It's a cartoon. It's animated. It's on Disney Plus. It's only 2 seasons. I think there's 21 episodes a season, so, 42 episodes or so. Really good show. Really solid. Monster of the Week type stuff. Has an X-Files vibe to it. 2 kids and their uncle, their grunkle, Stan. I'm really digging it. We just started season 2, and my son says it ends very good, very well. So I'm excited to finish that one off. There's probably more. People are probably giving suggestions as well. Oh, Andor. Yes, thank you. And it's called Andor. Thank you, Kevy. That was the Rogue One prequel. Shadow Humor says, "Lamb, really awesome movie." LOL. Yeah, laugh. I was laughing out loud. Thank you for that, Lamb. Dear God. I got a super chat from CP for 199. Thank you, CP. Have you ever partook? Have you ever partaken in the devil's lettuce? I I don't. What is that? I gotta look that up. Devil's lettuce. What kind of sick term is this for? Oh, marijuana. Okay, clearly not, because I didn't even know the expression. The devil's lettuce. There's a weird shadow cast on me. I don't like it. Whatever. No, I have not. I'm very pure, very squeaky clean. I got no tattoos. I've never drank in my life. I've never smoked. I'm not religious, so we can't even use that as like an excuse, because I know most of my religious relatives are fucking alcoholics, borderline functioning alcoholics, because they get the wine and the wafers and it's just a whole thing. I just never really, I guess because I grew up in a semi small town, it was the cool thing to do. And since I just hate kind of going with the trends just to go with them, I was always anti drinking, mainly because it was the cool thing to do. So I'd always be the sober buddy that'd come along. And that was just as fun because you got to see your friends act like complete idiots. At one point in time, when I lived in a little town, New Ulm in Minnesota, I was with some buddies out, and they mixed I don't even know that, I don't know drinks. I'm not gonna lie, I know nothing about alcohol. I think it's called is it a corkscrew, where it's just orange juice and vodka? Whatever that one's called. They got vodka and Sunny Delight, and they mixed that together. And that night ended with us driving home down Main Street in the truck, and the buddy, I'm not going to say his name, but he's shirts off, pants off, running down the middle of the road yelling, "I am Rambo." Yeah, just some real quality stuff going on. I wonder why I never drank. I'm already an idiot to begin with. I couldn't imagine the levels of disaster it would be. So no drinking, no marijuana. Sorry. Devin confirms Gravity Falls was awesome. Yes. Gustavo says Adam is a straight edge. I am. I'm no nonsense, but you know what? I also don't judge. I got buddies that they hit the joints. But Bless is probably high as a kite right now. Every time I call him, he's sleeping or he's doing something. He's like, Adam, I got to get off the marijuana. I can't do the weed anymore. It's just too much. It's too strong. I'm like, well, yeah, it's 4 p.m. and you're just waking up, so probably for the best. Sunny D does that even without alcohol in it. So yeah, that's true. Alex says, "Are you manlier than Joey C?" Listen, Alex, the fact that Joey C, who's often on Hack the Movies, has to even talk so much about how he is manly, I think kind of tells everything you need to hear right there, doesn't it? That kind of screams louder than anything I could say. I just kind of let action speak louder. I just let the full package unveil itself to you, and you can take from that what you will. Perm says Adam will outlive the ghouls on Fallout. I think that's fair. I think that's honest. The Fallout series, I like that series. The first season was good. It was a solid show. Oh my God, we got to talk about the big thing that's all over the thumbnail of this live. People are going to be upset that I don't talk about it. The Lord and Savior, Zack Snyder, is gifting Netflix, and by proxy, everyone that watches Netflix, 2 more versions of Rebel Moon. We get a director's cut of part 1 and part 2, and I believe they're going to be pushing 3+ hours. I think the first one's over 3 hours. The second one's like 2.5, maybe 3. What a time to be alive, to watch a shitty new version of Rebel Moon. Is it fair to call it shitty without seeing it? At this point, yes, it is. Because I don't think Zack Snyder knows how to make a movie anymore. I don't think he cares anymore. I think he just scribbles down a bunch of ideas. He films them and puts them in slow-mo, adds a layer of grain, adds a layer of muck to it all, and then shits it out and says, look at this, bro. Look what I did there, bro. They're terrible movies. They're not even fun to laugh at how bad they are. And so a longer experience? No. No. Am I going to watch it? Of course I'm going to watch it. Of course I'm going to review it. But man, it's going to be terrible. I just know it's going to be terrible. I would love to be wrong. I would love to watch this thing and be like, holy shit, I'm surprised. I love this so much. But yeah, those are coming. I could do a Google for you quick. Rebel Moon Director's Cut release date. Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire, was originally planned on release in December of 2023. Well, I don't care about what. Give me the actual. Hang on. Let me get it. The sexier, bloodier versions of his Netflix saga will drop on August 2nd with 2 newly titled chapters. Oh, God. So they're not going to be chapter 1. Oh my God. Oh my God. So originally chapter 1 was called Child of Fire and part 2 was The Scar Giver. Now chapter 1 is going to be called Chalice of Blood and chapter 2 is Curse of Forgiveness. We are living in such stupid times right now. How is anyone liking these movies? Just full stop. How is anyone liking these movies? How do you not watch them and think, wow, this is just shit. This is just really bad. It blows my mind. But yeah, they're coming. They're coming. Mark your calendar for September. Daniel Fa, member for 5 months. Thank you, Daniel. Rebel Moon compares to a dog pooping on the carpet. Yeah. That's accurate. I think I might actually get a little bit more out of the dog taking his shit on the carpet. Oatio? I'm not sure if Oatio. I love wheat. So does Zack Snyder. Loves the wheat. Bubba says, I forgot I am busy all September. Yeah. Yeah. Make sure I didn't miss any super chats here. There was a couple other things I was going to note. Oh, Oatio. Oatio. Well, I don't know what IE. What sound does IE mean? Make. I. Oatio. Another show that I recommend. Lindsay said I should do a video on it, which is hilarious because it would get 2 views because it's not coming back right now. So it's just completely irrelevant. Is the Lego Master Builders show. You can find them on Hulu, the first, I think, 4 seasons. Fun show, especially if you have kids. We like watching that during a Sunday breakfast. I make a big buffet. Pancakes, bacon, sausage, gluten-free pancakes, of course. Eggs, scrambled. I prefer over easy, but when it's a family feast, I just scramble up like 9 or 10 eggs. And we just go hog wild. And we watch the Lego Master Builders. Good show. It's like a competition, Hell's Kitchen-esque type of thing where there's parties of 2, and I think there's 7 or 8 teams to start out with, and they just compete having to do these builds that the judges come up with. It's hosted by Will Arnett. Big fan of it. We just realized there was 2 Christmas specials that I previously didn't know existed. So we watched one last Sunday, and now we're going to watch the other one this Sunday. Very, very pumped for that. Lego Master Builders. Good show. Or Lego Masters, whatever. I guess it's called Lego Masters. Thank you, Salty. Bubba's confirming that the gluten-free pancakes are fire. Yeah, I made them for you before, and he took it home and ate it. I think as he heated it up later and liked it. Alex says, would you rather have the last 15 minutes of every movie removed forever so you don't know how it ends, or have the last 15 minutes put in front of the movie so it ruins the ending? Would you rather have the last 15 minutes of every movie removed forever, or have the last 15 minutes put in the front of the movie so it ruins the ending? Well, I would definitely go with the second, because there's a lot of movies that actually do start with the end of the film. Maybe not the way end where you see what's going to happen. It's usually a cliffhanger and then it brings you back and then we make our way to the ending again. But I could see the final 15 minutes having that ending be very interesting. And I think there's a lot of ways to play with that. Not having the ending, doing a Sopranos type of thing, that just kills it. That's awful. That's disgusting. Thank you for the question. That's good. Oh, someone brought up Batman. That's right. The other news is the Batman supposedly starts filming, I think, next year, and they're going to do two of them back to back. They're going to do 2 and 3 back to back, I believe. Let me look it up. The Batman shooting back to back. Got this Batman in me going back to back. James Gunn debunks rumor. Okay, so it's already been, it's already been debunked. What the fuck? The Batman reportedly begins shooting next year back to back with the Batman 3. And so then there's like a bunch of articles from Screen Rant, Collider, and then I see IMDb already has a correction. Where is it? James Gunn has now debunked the report via Threads. You know, Threads, the thing that James Gunn uses and nobody else, the competitor to the artist formerly known as Twitter, X, which is a steaming pile of shit. I guess on Threads, he said that didn't happen. Snowdub, I did not get the notification. WTF. I don't know what to tell you. It's YouTube. It's YouTube, baby. I did set up the stream really late in the day. I don't think I actually set it up till like 4 or 5. It's possible YouTube needs more time to even let people know. Who knows? Who knows how it works? It's ridiculous. Prime L Dog Fortnite for $5. W Man. Okay. Oh, I know L Dog. Okay, thank you, L Dog. I appreciate that. I think I know who L Dog is. I appreciate you watching and for the W. Perm for $5 from the top rope. What was the last quotable movie? Are they made anymore? I kind of talked about that in a video recently. I assume that's what you're referring to, Perm, because you remember everything I say and take it all at scripture level. The last really quotable movie I can remember, holy shit, it's been so long. Talladega Nights? I don't even know. Typically, they're comedies, and they just don't make comedies how they used to make comedies. Now they're more hardcore, R-rated, and it seems to be more situational humor rather than clever dialogue. It's just a lot of swearing, but not much substance behind the swear word. I always just look at Austin Powers, Zoolander, pretty much everything Jim Carrey's ever done. But also, it's just, yeah, I don't want to use the excuse that we don't watch movies the same. We don't. But that might only be half of it. There's so much more out there at all times for us to access that we're not going to end up rewatching a lot of the same things more than once or even twice at the most. So I think quotable movies really can't exist in the same way they used to. But that might not be fair. That might be a disservice to the clever writing that came before in films like Airplane, even like a Dodgeball, Hot Shots, some of those flicks. So many quotable lines in The Naked Gun alone. But again, I've seen the movie quite a few times, and therefore it's going to stick with me more. So I don't know, Perm. I can't think of anything off the top of my head in the last 5 years. I don't even think I go back 10 years and think of anything where I quote more than a couple. Witness Me was quoted a lot when Fury Road came out. I remember people yelling, "Witness Me." That was a classic little gem from that movie. You get a couple. I'm sure the Jumanji movie with The Rock had something in it, right? Maybe something. No idea. Good question. KJ says, "They fly now? They fly now." From The Rise of Skywalker. LOL. Yes. Or the Umama joke from The Last Jedi, another classic, very iconic. They fly now? They fly now. Did the director's cut get released? No, Sharkfin, not until September. You're going to have to hold on a little bit longer for that. What I imagine is going to be a majestic, powerful, amazing, larger than light, new age Star Wars franchise. It's rated R. I just talked about Star Wars and how it would be cool if they did something a little darker, maybe something skewed more for adults, maybe something rated R. And it looks like Zack Snyder has us covered, he said sarcastically. Iron Man, King Cold says, Iron Man's got some good gems. Probably. It's been a while. It's been a long time since I've rock and rolled. It's been a long time since Sam KJ, Sam, I don't know how to pronounce it. It might not be one word, but he gave 400 funny dollars. I don't know what that currency is. It looks like a lot to me, though. Thank you very much. I'm going to assume it's $400 American, and I appreciate it. It's the best super chat of the night. What Netflix has done with the Arcane series? What all aspects do you appreciate? The animation style, storytelling. Also, do you prefer Pattinson to be the DCU Batman or want two separate live action bats at the same time? I think all of the above for Arcane. The animation is gorgeous in that thing. The way they utilize 3D with 2D. I mean, I don't know if there's any 2D at all, but I know they kind of drew over the top to give it extra vibrancy, kind of like they do with the Into the Spider-Verse movies. The story was compelling about these two sisters at odds with each other. How Jinx was able to rise up through the sewers in the ranks, take over a little faction. She was basically a Harley Quinn of this thing, and I loved her. What a wild card she was, how she used and abused people. There was some amazing action. It was always creative and done in different ways. One of them was shot in that kind of shuddery, hand-drawn style for a while, and then it quickly snapped to reality, and we see it play out in super quick time. Really good stuff. I just found all the characters to be pretty compelling. I found the world to be rich, and I could not wait to watch the next episode. All 4 of my family members watched, and we are very excited for the next season. Music was a banger, too. Loved all the music in that thing. The steampunk vibe that the whole visual representation had, very cool. All around good stuff. Oh, he has a second question. And for $400, of course, US. Also, do you prefer Pattinson to be the DCU Batman? People really liked Pattinson as Batman. I didn't get much of anything out of him. He was just kind of there. You know, he looked brooding, kind of a crow type character. And I guess that's all it takes. I need to see a lot more from him before I'm going to be like, oh, wow, yeah, what an amazing performance. Because as it stands, he was fine. He was serviceable. Two separate live action bats at the same time. I think I would prefer 2 separate ones, to be honest with you. And I think that's kind of where James Gunn is at too. We got a new Superman. Let's get a new Batman. Let's let the Batman cook over here. Let's let Joker and Joker 2 cook over there. We can do Elseworld stuff. I think James Gunn already said that, but he has kind of gone back and forth, wishy-washy on some things in the past. He said Blue Beetle was the first technical DCU character. We'll see how much that bears fruit. But yeah, keep the Batman separate, keep Penguin and all that crap on its own, and then let James Gunn kind of sculpt together something new with the new Caped Crusader. I think that would be the way to do it. Mainly also for the visual style. I like when, the MCU for a while had a distinct look. It was a boring look. It was bland and the colors were all pretty flat, but at least had a consistent look to it. And then they decided at some point, all right, Ragnarok is going to be our new look going forward, and we're going to just vomit colors on everything. And then they decided to just go for broke with a lot of the newer stuff, like Ant-Man and the Wasp 3, Quantum Shidia, Thor, Love and Thunder. It just got so orgasmically colorful and stupid and silly. And I guess it kind of does mirror the scripts at those points, how stupid they got. But I do like a consistent tone throughout, so I think James Gunn is going to do that. And the Batman is clearly on its own wavelength. Let's let it stay emo and brooding over here. We'll go more hopeful with what I imagine James Gunn's Superman movie is going to be. Thank you for the questions. They were great. They were beautiful. Prime L Dog Fortnite for $5. Is it the L Dog you thinking of? Ha ha. What? I don't know. I don't know what that means. The LD. I'm so lost. It's hard for me to understand the humor through text. Maybe, maybe not. Now I'm completely confused, but I appreciate the super chats. Don't go broke sending me super chats to make this joke stick. It's not worth it. What do we got here? Michael, has anyone seen the Ubisoft? Some people say Ubisoft. I like Ubisoft. Ubisoft show also from Netflix, the one where Raymond gets depressed. Yeah, it's called Everybody Loves Raymond. You just said it wrong. No, I haven't seen it. Rayman you're talking about. Those Rayman games were really good, the 2D ones. I was really sad that they stopped making new ones. They had two of them. There was Rayman Legends and Rayman Origins. I think Origins was first, but both really good games. I thought they blew newer 2D Marios out of the water. If you haven't played the Rayman games, those new ones, beautiful graphics, 2D animation art style, fantastic gameplay, that easy wins. Haven't seen the show. King Cold for $2. Sucker Punch is pretty good. I'm not even going to finish that. King Cold, Sucker Punch to me was it. That was it for Zack Snyder. The beginning of the end. I think Sucker Punch is exactly the point in his career where he puts style way over substance. The story doesn't make a fucking lick of sense until it's explained later, because they cut out the scenes in the actual theater release that showed what was going on. So it's this really artistic, interpretive film that just doesn't cohesively mesh at all. It's just a bunch of explosions and hot women. And while that is pretty great on its own, it'd be nice if there was some story behind it that you could at least hook yourself to and go, all right, I'm along for the ride. I understand the plight. I understand the struggles. I felt nothing watching Sucker Punch. And that would be Snyder to a T going forward. Feeling absolutely nothing, undercutting your own dramatic moments. The big thing I could say for an example of that would be in the Snyder cut of Batman, or whatever, the Justice League, the Snyder cut Justice League, when Martha has that heart-to-heart scene and she leaves the apartment building and she turns into Martian Manhunter for no reason. Or I'm sorry, I guess it was this like world building thing outside the camera lens that Snyder has in his head of how Martian Manhunter was orchestrating this whole thing. He was puppeting this whole experience. So stupid. And it ruined a really touching scene. One of the few dramatic moments that I thought worked in that film instantly. And that's my problem with Sucker Punch and with Snyder in everything else, pretty much. I'll always love 300. I will always love 300. I just rewatched it, and I believe I did a little family review on Patreon, patreon.com/AdamDoesMovies. It's, I think, available at, I don't even fucking know, the $10 tier and up. If you're a $10 supporter, a gold member, maybe silver. I do have a couple coming out. I haven't forgot. I have vlogs coming out. It's just everything got pushed back because of the move. Hang tight, people. I saw a new Mithril member come in today. Amazing. Love it. The Blind Cinephile, did you see the trailer for the new Indiana Jones game? I saw one from a few months ago. Maybe it was a few weeks. Every day feels like a month at this point. I did see it. It looked pretty rough. It looked, I thought it was bizarre. It was a first-person game. I thought a third-person Nathan Drake style adventure, a Tomb Raider style game over the shoulder would have been a lot better. Honestly, it seemed like a no-brainer that they were going to make Indiana Jones the Xbox equivalent of an Uncharted, which was a massively popular, massively awesome game series. Indiana Jones would have been perfect, but then I saw it's a first-person perspective. Does Xbox know how to make games that aren't first person? Do they know how anymore? Yeah, it doesn't look very good. Maiden says the Rayman games are so fun. Capital S-O, emphasis on the so. And I appreciate that. Yeah, they're great games. They're really good. Rumor has it Deadpool and Wolverine is going to change the direction of Marvel. Thoughts? Asked Snowdub. Powerful question. I try not to think too much, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they did some pretty wild, radical things. I think Kevin Feige goes west, is wise enough to understand that things are not working for the MCU. They're still seeing some profits, but some movies now are starting to chip. They're starting to show. And at the end of the day, it's about money for these people. Art seems to be completely out the window at this point, at least for most of these properties in the MCU and in Star Wars, and really just Disney in general. It seems like it's going to be nothing more than, we got to make money. We're sequeling everything. We're prequeling everything. We're remaking everything. Money. You can try to make art if you want, artists, but this is what we're doing. This is the route we're going. I think they see the writing is kind of on the wall for the MCU. People are starting to veer away. They're starting to lose interest. They kind of shit the bed with their main base of middle-aged dudes. We're getting a little annoyed of the routes they've taken with things, so they're going to have to peel back. And so I think Deadpool and Wolverine is that, I could totally see them using that as a way to reset things. What that means, I don't know. But yeah, they know that that's going to be a huge summer blockbuster and probably the most money they make for the MCU since Endgame or Infinity War. I think this is going to be one that potentially could do $1 billion, or it could get close. What did Deadpool, you know what, before I say something stupid again, Deadpool 2 box office. Deadpool 2 made $785 million. What did Deadpool 1 make? Deadpool 1 made 782. We are, I mean, the numbers are insanely close, just a few million off, no big deal. So by that set, yeah, I could see this being a huge payday. Maybe not the billion I just said. It does seem like less people are going to the movies, but I do think when big event films come along, you're going to see a huge number of people go, wow. We saw that with Taylor Swift, with that live concert shit. We saw that with the Barbenheimer thing. Event films are going to drive people and not much else, sadly. So yeah, Deadpool 3 potentially going to be huge. Disney knows it. This is going to be the perfect play to kind of switch things up. Okay. I like Scream and Ice Cream, asks, worst horror movie of all time? The worst, I mean, horror is such a loose term. The worst movie that I guess kind of uses that moniker is The House of the Dead. I remember seeing that in theaters. That's a U Bowl film. Notorious director hack U Bowl or UA Bowl, however you say it, Ubowell. It's based on the video game House of the Dead, but name is all it carries over to the film. At one point in time, I got up and left. There's a scene in the movie where each actor individually jumps with a shotgun, and the camera does the worst kind of bullet time spin around them you could possibly imagine. It's just up, it's choppy and shitty. The acting's terrible. The effects are horrible. Everything about it's just top to bottom bad. But pretty much all of his catalog is like that. Now, keep in mind, this is not the worst horror movie of all time by any stretch of the imagination. It's the worst one I've seen because I do not like watching bad films, even though people tend to enjoy making me watch bad films and hearing me bitch about bad films. Outside of some exceptions, I don't like watching them. Lately, I will go out of my way if I see a movie trending on Netflix that I know is going to be horrible because it's trending on Netflix, so I can get people watching the channel that way. So I will watch it and give it a chance. I recently watched a bunch of Jennifer Lopez films. Jennifer Lopez had those two, This Is Me, ... now, and The Greatest Love Story Never Told. And then she had that AI film. Awful movies, but they did so well on the channel. People loved me talking about them. So yeah, if there's a movie trending and it's doing well, I will watch it because sadly, people aren't going to movies now. They're sitting at home and watching the garbage that Netflix chooses to be their number one pick. And oftentimes it's some horrible dreck that they shat out in an afternoon, like a new Lindsay Lohan movie where she falls in love in Ireland, and it's called Irish Wish. I reviewed that shit. I watched Irish Wish because I hate myself. Or The Acolyte by Star Wars. There's nothing really Star Wars related going on, so yeah, I'll sit through The Acolyte and hope for the best and prepare for the worst. I heard 3 is a doozy, so I'm looking forward to this one. Alex asks, who would you rather be stuck in an Airbnb with? The guy from Strangers Chapter 1 or the girl from Strangers Chapter 1? They're both so stupid. I'm trying to think who did dumber things. I would say the woman for sure. I would rather be stuck with the woman because she listened to whatever the guy told her to do, as dumb as it was. Early on, he's like, I'm going to go steal this motorcycle from the owner because I've driven a motorcycle one time and it's the middle of the night. So I'm going to leave you now after people have been banging on the door several times. I'm going to go into town, just kind of make a night of it, and then I'll come back. And she's like, yeah, that sounds good. Bring me a burger. Doesn't really question it at all. She's just along for the ride. The guy, I think, would make a fuss. I think he would push back on my sensible ideas to not sit by windows and leave guns unattended or have your back to vehicles or not take vehicles that are right there with the keys in the ignition, ready to go, fueled up, perfectly fine, that you could just drive out of town with. I'm not going to listen to that dipshit, so I'm taking the woman. I'm gonna go with the woman. Black Widow movie or Thor: Love and Thunder? Easy Black Widow win for me. Listen, you can find my review on the channel. I really didn't have a problem with Black Widow. I'm gonna be perfectly frank with you. I thought it was a watchable film. I thought that I like looking at Scarlett Johansson. I'm not going to make any fuss about that. I like everybody in the movie. Did I like Taskmaster as a villain? No, that was kind of stupid. But I don't really know anything about the comics or who Taskmaster is outside of the movie, so it didn't bother me. They did the whole stupid, like female swap that they do in every movie now. Some of the effects were shoddy, sure, but a lot of them actually looked pretty good. I really didn't have a problem with that movie. I had a good time watching it in the theaters. I think it gets a bad shake, if I'm going to be honest with you. Thor: Love and Thunder sucked ass, top to bottom. The Blind Cinephile says, you think they'll make a PG-13 cut of Deadpool like they did with Deadpool 2? I don't. I don't think so. I think the ship has left the station on that. Deadpool's PG-13 version came out, I don't think that long after the original Deadpool did. It might have been 6 months down the road. I think they were trying to capitalize on Christmas and double dip. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened. It was within a year. I'm going to say Deadpool 2's been out for a long time. I don't see them going back to that well. If anything, I see them maybe doing something like that for Deadpool and Wolverine. Maybe they'll have a secondary cut of that movie, or they'll do like an Anchorman 2 thing where there's so much humor, so many scenes on the chopping block that they'll come up with a unrated version that's 15 to 20 minutes longer and have a bunch of other stuff in it. I could see that happening for sure. Make no mistake, if there's money to be made though, they will make it, and they will double dip. Human Centipede was terrible. Yeah, it was. It's not worse than House of the Dead, though, because at least Human Centipede is memorable in the worst way possible, but at least it's memorable. Adam, have you seen Gravity Falls? You missed the early conversation. I don't know if this is a joke or not, but I'm watching Gravity Falls right now. I'm on season 2 with my wife. I will, after this stream is over, I'm gonna go watch some more of it after I watch the 3rd episode of the Alkalite, the Alcoholic. I don't know, the Alkalite, dumb name. Thor: The Dark World or Thor: Love and Thunder? I would say Thor: The Dark World. It is unmemorable as it is, as generic as it is. I didn't find it to be insulting. It's just kind of there. Thor: Love and Thunder is so stupid. I didn't find it very funny. I got annoyed by a lot of it, and I tried watching it again for a second time with my family, and just thought it was so miserable. The first time, I think it was a little nicer. I remember not liking it. I remember saying, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed, because I love Thor Ragnarok. So I went into Love and Thunder with very positive expectations. Same director, same creative team, but holy shit, talk about completely winging it. That movie felt like they shot it in 3 weeks and didn't give a shit. And the director pretty much came out and said that. He didn't care. Best horror threequel of all time. Oh, it's so hard. They get so bad by the 3rd. Scream even has a bad 3rd one, I think. I know some people like it. I don't care for Scream 3. Believe it or not, I've only seen Final Destination 1 and parts of other Final Destinations. I've only seen 2. I Know What You Did Last Summers. I think there's 3 and a TV series. I did not watch anything past Halloween 1 and 2 I've seen. I thought Halloween 2 sucked. I'm talking about the original Halloween 2. Thought it blew ass. Did not stick. People may not know this, and it's not the case now because I do movie reviews like a full-time second job. So I see everything that comes out now, or try to. But I'm kind of a bitch. I'm kind of a stickler when it comes to movie franchises I don't care for. If a movie's bad, I'm done. I'm done with it. So if a movie in a franchise just pisses me off and ruins it for me, I'm not going to see another one. For instance, The Last Jedi, Star Wars, I hated that movie. I hated it. Still hate it. I'm still bitter about it all these years later, like a spoiled little brat with first world problems. That's fine. I acknowledge that. I would not have watched the one that followed. I went to watch episode 9 had I not had a movie channel on YouTube where I reviewed movies. I don't care. And I watched the movie and I actually had a fine time watching it because I don't care about Star Wars at all at that point. When 9 came out and I saw it in theaters, I only wanted to be entertained in the dumbest blockbuster way possible. I think J.J. Abrams achieved that. On its own, that movie's a fine, fun watch. As part of this nineology, as part of the saga, it's insulting beyond all belief. It's pathetic that that was the best they could come up with. But as a single movie, sure, yeah, space lasers, lightsabers, I'm in. Cool, great. Fuck off now, Star Wars is where I'm at. And so that's where I'm at with everything. Horror movies, action movies, if they start getting bad, if they insult my intelligence or dip in quality to a point where I know they don't care and they're just cashing a check, I don't want to see it anymore. I'm done. I'm done. It takes me many years to go back and actually check these things out. Horror, though, specifically horror, I'm really big on because I think those movies have an easier time getting made because they're cheaper to do and they get a bigger return on investment. I walk from horror movies if I start to see a pattern of laziness. I'm done. Movies like Alien or Predator or to a lesser extent Terminators, they will at least try different things, take it from a different angle, and that way I'm on board again. Alien 3 and Alien Resurrections, two completely different movies. The only thing that ties them together is Sigourney Weaver. Otherwise, the way they're filmed, the way they're directed, it's just so different. Both equally shit shows for different reasons. Best horror threequel of all time, though. God, I just don't know. Does anybody have any suggestions? Because I'm having a hard time thinking of any. I'll come back to you. I like Scream and Ice Cream. Maybe someone can help me out because I can't think of a horror franchise that's got 3 good ones in a row. Scream is kind of the one people go to. It's a pickle. CPs for 199. Hey Adam, appreciate what you do, brother man. Okay, thank you. I appreciate you super chatting and showing support. There it is. And there it is. First 3 Alien movies, all director cuts. I can't get on board with that. I do not like Alien 3 any cut. It's still not good. Better, sure, but better than bad? Okay, slightly bad. Halloween 3, best threequel. I have seen Halloween 3, but I saw it just a year ago. I think Tony from Hack the Movies had me watch it or something. I watched it for some reason. I hated it. I really did. But that song and the fact that it was so completely separated from the Michael Myers movies that came before was fascinating. I will give it props for being wildly different, but fuck, what a weird movie. To Halloween, Silver Shamrock. Wild movie. Ninja, have you watched the Pokemon movies? Ninja, I've seen some of them. I used to watch the anime, if it's even considered an anime. I think it is. The animated show that was on whatever cable TV at one point in time or public TV. I watched a fair amount. I had the Pokemon bug. I still play Pokemon Go on occasion, short for occasion with my kids. I'll get into it. I'll dip back in. I will have a week where I'll just be all in trying to catch new Pokemon in Pokemon Go. My Dex is pretty solid. I got a decent amount of shinies. I've been cultivating it for a decade now, so it should be pretty good. But yeah, I purchased a Game Boy with Pokemon, I want to say Red. And my buddies had the other Pokemon Blue, and then later yellow would come out. But yeah, we were obsessed. I remember my one friend Chris was supposed to have basketball practice, and he straight up just started skipping it because we were so obsessed. We were bunkered down in a basement. It was Chris, Derek, and myself. We all had Game Boys, and it's like people with phones just 24/7 now. That was us with these Game Boys playing Pokemon, the originals in black and white, obsessively trying to catch these things. And when we would finally go to sleep for the night, little sleepover, the music would be playing in my head, and I would have like the imprint of the game burned into my eyeballs. And then you would just hear, after rustling around for 10 or 15 minutes, you'd hear the Game Boy switch on from one of the other guys in the room because they just couldn't give it up. They had to play longer. It was like that for 3 or 4 days straight. It was pathetic, and I love it. I wish I could do it again. But yeah, to answer your question, I've watched a couple of them. I watched the first one. I think it was Mewtwo Strikes Back, or maybe it's just Pokemon, the first movie. The naming was very confusing. There's Pokemon 2000, which I think was the second movie. I think the first one was just called Pokemon the movie. And then there's Pokemon Forever. I don't know. I've seen 3 or 4 of them out of the 15 or 20 that exist. I stopped around the unknown style. I saw the NT or Entei one with the dogs, the 3 wolves. That was pretty good. Mostly I don't like those movies. They're pretty stupid. Especially the first one where there's this epic showdown where there's clone Pokemon. And so you see Bulbasaur or you see Venusaur versus Venusaur. You see Pikachu versus Pikachu. And they're these kind of evil equivalents, almost shiny versions. But instead of using their abilities, all they do to each other is just keep bitch slapping each other back and forth. Like, I don't like you. I was expecting some vine whips. I was expecting some water gun action. No, just slapping. Bizarre. Apparently the animation department ran out of time. Are you excited for Inside Out 2? Uncle Sean says it's the best Pixar in years. Sean Chandler, yeah. I refuse to call him that. It just sounds creepy no matter what. But Sean Chandler, he might be right. I don't know. I really liked Luca. I thought Luca got a fair shake. They shat that thing out on Disney Plus. Not a lot of people saw it, but I really liked Luca. I'm going to give shout out to that film again. A really kind of beautiful story, coming of age film. There's some layer to it. It's not like a larger than life big movie. It's small scale. It's got a unique location with fun characters, colorful, funny. It's just a good quirky movie. So definitely watch Luca if you haven't. I think that was a very good Pixar film. And Elemental was fine. I thought Elemental was actually nice too. It just was very formulaic. And when you think Pixar, you think maybe outside the box a little. And this one felt safe for them. Inside Out 2, I'm excited. The whole family, I think, is going to go, or at least the kids and I. Lindsay, my wife, hates the movie theater. She hates going. I don't blame her. It's pretty miserable, especially here in South Carolina. The one we have access to, which I bitched about like crazy, Regal, horrible experience most of the time. I do not blame her if she doesn't want to go, but we are planning on seeing it this Thursday, and I'll let you know. A lot of iconic films, franchises were made in the 90s, 2000s, but now not many movies with the level of creativity are made. Are the studios at fault, or creative people just less creative now? It's studios. I did a video on this last week. Maybe some of the stuff I said is kind of filtering through your guys' subconsciousness and you're bringing it up. But I talked about this. Movies, and people somehow misconstrued it. New generations, and I'm talking little kids, 4, 3-year-old kids, they are growing up with nothing new for themselves. The remakes, sequels, prequels, and that's it. There's like nothing new outside of a rare Elemental. It's all the same bullshit. And I was getting most people agreed, but there was some pushback where people were like, That's not true. Even in the 90s and they had remakes and sequels. And yeah, they did, but there was still a bunch of new stuff coming out. I cannot think of more than like 3 or 4 from the last 5 years of really iconic, memorable movies that are going to last for the next 20 or 30 years, where these kids grow up and they say, oh my God, they're ruining my childhood with the 15th version of this. Where is their Indiana Jones? They're Back to the Future. They're Star Wars. They're ETs. There's so many from the 80s and 90s, and I guess late 70s in terms of Star Wars. But when it comes to adult stuff, sure, they're making some new things. A24 does a lot of them. But even that seems to be pared back a lot. We have Twisters coming out. Another Twister movie. Really? This is where we're at now. But specifically family movies, it seems like have gone by the wayside. And I think a lot of it has to do with Disney owns most of this shit, and they definitely own the family space. Outside of them, there's what? DreamWorks, who they're basically copying Disney, and they're just making sequels. We got another Kung Fu Panda. They're going to be doing a live action How to Train Your Dragon. It's boring. It's uninteresting, and it's property that's not new or fresh. Disney has Lilo and Stitch live action coming out. They have Frozen 3, Moana 2, Moana live action. It's all the same crap. Inside Out 2. But yeah, it's the studios. What's happening now is they have people that crunch the numbers, and they see that, oh, The Fall Guy actually bombed at the theaters. People didn't want to see it. It's a new property, even though ironically that's also a remake to an older film. Oh, Bad Boys 4 is making bank. It turns out Smith is still bankable, and people like sequels to movies they know. Let's probably do a Bad Boys 5. I guarantee you they will do a Bad Boys 5. It was supposed to stop at 3, and that one made a bunch of money, so they kept going. They look at that and they say, yes, we can still make this work with Indiana Jones. We can still make this work with whatever. I know they're just clamoring to get their hands on Back to the Future. They're just waiting for Zemeckis to kick the can, to croak so they can steal it somehow and ruin it. They got to wait though. But yeah, it's studios. They're just trying to do the safest bet to make money, and that's what it all comes down to. All right, it's starting to get a little later. I probably stay on for 10 or 15 more minutes, so I'm going to be brushing more to Super Chat priority, obviously, but I'll try to get in other questions if I can. Dan for $5. Thank you, Dan. A beautiful profile pic. Thanks for the Stranger spoiler review, man. I had just watched The Trash this past weekend and saw your review, and everything you said was spot on. I appreciate it. It's fun when they're really bad and there's a lot of just anger and annoyance built up where I can say something. Those are fun to do for me too. It's therapeutic. I did get called out from a few people that said the one spoiler I missed, and I won't say it here for people that still need to see The Strangers, was there was a post-credit scene or a mid-credit scene. I left as soon as that fucking movie faded to black. As soon as that first directed by name came up, I was out the door. I couldn't leave fast enough, so I did not see the end credit, mid-credit thing. Because people were like, Adam, you didn't mention this. Did you even see the movie? Even though I just broke down the entire thing. I think the first Pokemon movie was called Pokemon the First Movie. They knew. They did. They knew. They knew. One of the rare companies that can get away. I guess Mario probably could have too. Pixar or Illumination could have called it Mario the First Movie. That would have been a safe bet. Unlike the live action Mario where they tried to cliffhanger the ending, not so much a great idea. Spider-Man Homecoming or Far From Home? I honestly prefer Homecoming. That's probably going to ruffle some feathers, but I think Homecoming is a better movie. I think it's a better made movie. I think it's funnier, it's more clever, has a stronger story. Well, I don't think anybody's going to argue it has a stronger story. The story of Far From Home is insultingly bad. Oh God, no, never mind. I thought you meant No Way Home. Oh, I think Homecoming easily destroys Far From Home. I think Homecoming's the best of the trilogy. I kind of put myself on a hot take mode. I didn't need to be because he didn't even bring up No Way Home. Yeah, Far From Home, I'm not even a big fan of that one. I like Homecoming quite a bit. Also, Far From Home has a stupid plot convention too, where Tony Stark gives him these shades that allow him to drop nukes. I mean, not nukes, but he can launch missile attacks. Stark gives that to what is he, a 16-year-old kid? Ridiculous. Get out of here with that. Man, The Fall Guy was really fun for me. Sad to see it bomb. I agree, Blind Cinephile. I really enjoyed that movie as well. Best DreamWorks movie. For me, I'm going to say How to Train Your Dragon 2. Best DreamWorks movie. Has everything. Has everything. Beautiful to look at. Characters that are likable that you can root for. Cool villain. The Omega and Alpha dragons battles are epic, big scale. It's got death. It's got mourning. It's got two heroes, two protagonists that are kind of going through the same awakening at the same time with Toothless and Hiccup. I thought it was a very clever, very smartly written film, and I'm a big fan of that. I also really like Kung Fu Panda 1 and 2. Perm with maybe the most hard-hitting question of the night. Favorite color? You know, I'm partial to blue. I kind of use a lot of blues in my backgrounds, color profiles, some purples, some blues, but I go blue. I think blue's a solid color. The sky's blue, water's blue. It's just it's a healing color. It's a healing color. And it's cool. Like Cool Ranch Doritos. Alex's Homecoming is easily the best. Keaton's Vulture is a top 5 Marvel villain. I don't disagree. Keaton's pretty much top 5 in everything he does. Whatever that means. Ooh, this was like a trick. This was like a gotcha question because Blind Cinephile throws out Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is good. I'm not going to lie. I think that movie has been wildly overhyped. I enjoyed Puss in Boots: Last Wish. I reviewed it on this channel. But I'm not going to lie to you and say that the movie from beginning to end is just this masterpiece. I think the third act slips a bit. I think not utilizing the death character more was a mistake. He's gone for a large portion of this film, and he was so good. The first 20 minutes of that movie, though, are about as perfect as I think a film can get as far as animation goes for family. Like hitting that balance of funny, slapstick, edgy, like dark stuff mixed in, some legitimate, thrilling, scary moments early on. Really good stuff, but I do think it starts to kind of get less interesting as it goes on. Still a great movie, but How to Train Your Dragon 2, that trounces. Philip Steffens, or Stevens? I think it's Steffens. Is that right? Hello, everyone. Hello, Philip. I think Philip's correct. I got that part right. We are winding down, so any final super chats now would be ideal. I'm going to lock this thing out at about 3 minutes. I'm going to lock it down. And I did get one from the Blind Cinephile for $5. Have you ever been into WWE? Been a fan since I was 7, and it's arguably at its best and most popular right now. The Rock has even come back to it. I have never been into WWE. World Wrestling, I don't even know what it stands for. I know WW World Wrestling Federation. What does WWE even mean? Let me look it up. What is WWE? World Wrestling Entertainment. Okay. No, I mean, I'm familiar with some of the characters, some of the players from way back when. Hulk Hogan, Jake the Snake. I think Stretch Armstrong was a character. No. Was Sergeant Slaughter a character that was a wrestler and then he made his way into G.I. Joe? Was that I think that kind of was a thing, right? I was never into it. I had friends that were big time into it. There was a kid when I went to middle school. I want to say he even did this in high school. There was a dude that had a WrestleMania belt. He would wear it like every day, unironically. But he didn't really care much about what people thought. And now I respect the shit out of him for it, even though he was a really big weirdo. He wore that belt out. When I moved to New Ulm, actually, my friends there, they were huge into WWE or World Wrestling or whatever it was called then. I think they've gone through several name changes. Maybe not, but they would like legitimately beat the shit out of each other, jumping off couches, kicking, doing the whole like fake punches. And I would not want to have any part of it. Really wasn't my idea of a good time. King Cold for $5. Thank you, King. Why is Hollywood under the impression Emily Blunt can draw money? Emily Blunt is a treasure, King. I don't. What's the deal? What's with the hot takes tonight? First Sucker Punch, and now Emily Blunt disrespect. She's no Aquafina. All right, what are we doing here? As a leading actress, maybe that's the problem you have with her, because I think she's a hell of a supporting role, except for in Oppenheimer. I do stand by my one criticism of that film, which is she felt weirdly out of place. I loved her in The Fall Guy. I thought she did great. Wonderful. I also really like her in Live, Die, Repeat, aka The Edge of Tomorrow. First off, smoke show of a woman. Secondly, witty as hell. Thirdly, she can act. I don't see a problem with her personally. I loved her all the way back in Devil Wears Prada when she was just a secretary. She kind of stole every scene she was in. And of course, A Quiet Place 1. I also like A Quiet Place 2. I think she carried there. I have no problem with her, King Cold. I really don't. Whether or not she can pull a box office, I think A Quiet Place 2 did well. And that hit during COVID. Let's see what Quiet Place 2 box office. And don't give me some nonsense that Cillian Murphy was the draw. It was her. Yeah, it made almost $300 million off of 160. What was the budget? It was $2 budget. It can't be that much. Those movies don't have the biggest budgets. Wow. Yeah, only around $60 million budge, short for budget. It grossed 297. That's a lot. So it made a lot of money. She's a star. She's a star, King Cold. You just got to deal with it. Philip Stevens clarifies and says it is pronounced Stevens. I get that pronunciation continuously, maybe constantly, so it doesn't bother me. Good. I'm glad it doesn't. I get Olinger. My last name is Olinger, like a tiger. I get Olinger, probably 50-50 with people. It's okay. It's not a big deal. We live and learn. The point is that we correct, we adapt, we do better next time. And I'm going to do better as Philip Stevenson. Sam for 200 again, which we know we've established is American dollars, is $200. What did you not like about Across the Spider-Verse compared to the first one? The humor, pacing, or do you think both are perfect films, and which is your favorite? I like both movies quite a bit. My problem with Across the Spider-Verse is it's not a finished product. It's half of a movie, and it's a long middle half of a movie that felt unnecessarily so. I've only watched it once. I've seen Into the Spider-Verse 3, maybe 4 times. I just like a movie to be a little bit more accessible and not have to spend an entire afternoon watching it. Across the Spider-Verse is a meaty, large film for sure, and I definitely need to go back and give it another shot. But I enjoyed it. The kids and I both had a good time. It's never fun when a movie doesn't really have a resolved ending, and the ending of Across the Spider-Verse is just so unsatisfying. I think that that's the problem. Like the only problem I have is just little long, and the ending kind of ends 3 times on 3 different cliffhangers. It would have been nice to just one and done it, or give us something, I guess, a little bit more resolved, a little bit more resolute. Even the last Deathly Hallows, when they did the 2-part for that in Harry Potter, and Voldemort holds up the wand, it does the lightning, and it just shoots to black. That was kind of a cool, badass ending. Had this eerie vibe to it. What the hell was that? I just got some weird notification. What in the iPhone has 20% battery? It's plugged in. What in the Okay, well, whatever. We're just gonna keep going. It's plugged in and charging, yet it's draining battery. There's just too much, I guess, going on Across the Spider-Verse for me to get a real good sense of resolve. We'll leave it with that, since I'm tripping over words. Thank you. I appreciate the questions. The blind cinephile says, I do agree she is a star and a draw. Okay, we got there. Maybe I think they really haven't used Blunt as a draw as much as other aspects. Yeah, she's been kind of a companion piece, but when you see her on her own in A Quiet Place too, she held it. She held it together. All right, final super chats of the night. We're going to shut it down. Speak now or forever hold your peace. I think I ended up covering the little items that I wanted to, that I was going to make a meal out of earlier. So not too big of a deal, not too much of a loss. God, it's already 11:05. Where does this time go? All right, I'm going to call it. Thank you guys very much for watching. Sorry for the delay getting started tonight. Again, I just moved in a week ago. I put everything together. The whole house is done. Everything's unpacked. And I'm tired. But we're doing it. We got a bunch of new stuff coming out. I posted a video today on Star Wars. It's a 15-minute video. The audio's shit. I, at some point, must have been fucking with this, and I pushed it to omnidirectional instead of isolated direction. So it just sounds a lot worse in that video, which sucks, because every single time I put out a video that I'm disappointed with, it does well. It does well. But that's okay. People subscribed, people are liking it, and maybe I'm a little harder on myself than others are when it comes to audio and visuals and all that. And that's all right. We're our biggest critics at the end of the day, and that's how we get better. So look for that video. Look for a Alkalite season 1, episode 3 review, or whatever I end up doing. If I hate it, it'll just be a straight up spoiler bitch fest. If I liked it, maybe I'll be a little kinder and just talk about what works and keep it as it is. Look for that tomorrow, and a bunch of other good stuff I got in the pipeline. Reminder, I have a second channel, Adam Does Rants. It's so close to being monetized. Only maybe 40 watch hours away from monetization. We can get there. Just start watching those videos, commenting, liking. Adam Does Rants. It's all non-movie related stuff. People on their phones being assholes in public. Weirdos working out with you at the gym, people not taking their shoes off when they enter your house, things like that. Just first world problems across the board that drive me up a wall. I moved away from my neighbor because he had a blue bag pinned outside. I couldn't just do it anymore. I had to leave. I had to go. Okay, that's all I got. Thanks for watching, and we're shutting her down. Have a good night.